Today we'll look at the world's smallest full-frame mirrorless camera, and I'll ask the question if a full-frame camera can really deliver medium format level quality. This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 872 for July the 18th, 2019.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, hello and welcome, it's Chris Marquardt, you're listening to Tips from the Top Floor, episode 872, and it's summer, it's hot, we're actually at the beginning of another heat wave here in Germany, mid-90s temperatures, but the Viewfinder Villa is keeping the heat out, at least for now. It's an old house, big walls, thick walls, so there's a good chance we'll be at least good for a few days until everything heats up, and then when it gets colder outside, we'll have an issue getting all the heat out again. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about weather. I've given up on that. A little introduction. I don't have her here right now, but check out this week's The Future of Photography episode 89. And say hello to our new addition to the team. Yep. On episode 89, we do a little introduction with Emer King. She's the fourth voice on the show. You might know over a year ago, Adrian and I started this little podcast, The Future of Photography. And we have recently done a casting. And one person you already heard here on the show, Jeremiah Chechik, and TFOP, TFOP, that's what we call it, The Future of Photography, TFOP, is a playground for us. And it's a playground with 4 people now, and everyone coming from a very different direction, so that's a lot of potential for great discussions. So there's Adrian Stock from London in the UK. He's very much into film photography. He also co-hosts the Sunny 16 podcast. And then, just our new addition, Emer King. She's from Ireland, and she has an arts background. And then there's Jeremiah Chechik from Los Angeles, who's not only a photographer, but he's pretty close to the latest tech in photography and movie making, because he's a Hollywood director. And then, of course, there's me, trying to keep all this together. And I don't really have any special qualifications. Why are you even listening to me? So we're putting a lot into TFOP right now, and maybe you want to check it out. There's lots of interesting stuff that we have lined up for you, and you can find it wherever you find your other podcasts. The Future of Photography. What else is new? Talked about the heat wave. Talked about TFOP. Let's talk about cameras. No, I don't really talk about cameras that much, about specific cameras, but there have been 2 announcements that that at least made me look up from what I was doing. It's like, oh, really? Let me have a closer look. And of course, you have probably heard about the Sony A7 Mark IV announcement. Everyone's kind of talking about this. With its, 60 megapixels, like other features and stuff that was made better. But you know what? It doesn't really tickle me. The one announcement that piqued my interest is the other one, which was the Sigma FP. I think it's a really exciting camera announcement. And I'll get back to the Sony in a minute, but let's stick with the Sigma just for a couple seconds. Sigma FP. Now, Sigma is known for making lenses and for their cameras with a foveon sensor, which is different than the Bayer area sensor. And the name, I don't know. FP, they say it's Fortissimo Pianissimo. That's what it stands for. But and if you're a musician, you know that FP doesn't stand for Fortissimo Pianissimo. That's different. FF is Fortissimo. PP is, no, P, not that PP. Lowercase p is the Pianissimo. and FP is forte piano, and that means something different. Anyway, I'm so nitpicky, but hey, there's a musician somewhere inside of me, and that's my musical OCD kicking in. So yeah, and I've asked them here, the Sigma Germany, if they would send me one, and they declined. They said no. I mean, not that they probably can send out any right now. Again, the camera is also announced for fall, so I don't know what the situation is, but Sigma Germany is not interested in letting me test it. I would talk about this for weeks on the show, but hey, you're bad, Sigma. Now, I said it doesn't have a foveon sensor. That's a first for Sigma. They use a full frame Bayer sensor in there, so a different way of mixing the colors. Foveon, if you don't know, if you look at a Bayer array, Bayer, just Google it and you'll see one. It's red, green, and blue next to each other. So there's some interpolation going on and some blurring because of that. And the foveon sensor is more like film. It has them on top of each other. So each pixel on the sensor has all colors. And there is some advantages, but there's also some disadvantages in terms of the sensitivity, pretty much. You cannot really do a good high ISO with a foveon sensor, at least not yet. Otherwise, I'd kind of like the concept, but still fighting with the sensitivity side. And they claim that this is, well, when this comes out, this will be the smallest full-frame camera in the world. 4.3 inches wide, which is not too big. Yeah, I have a couple of smaller full-frame film cameras, but this is definitely the smallest full-frame digital camera out there when it comes out. And it's an interesting beast. First of all, I kind of like the minimal design, while still maintaining a decent amount of buttons, I'd say. So you have on top, you have the shutter button, you have a wheel of an index finger wheel in front of your right hand. You have a power button, and you have the cine versus still switch. So that kind of tells you that the camera is not only a still camera, but it's also a cinema camera. And then it has a dedicated recording button, a red rec button for video. And yeah, this is an interesting hybrid because not only is it the smallest full-frame camera, it shoots 4K video, and it has a whole bunch of professional video features like Zebra and waveforms and so on, timecode even. So yeah, this is a little, if it works out the way I hope it will, it's a little production beast. It shoots 12-bit raw video. So for those of you who want to get high quality out of this, I would expect this to be pretty good. And 12-bit raw video isn't small, so you can hook up an external SSD. It has a USB-C port, I think, and then you can record that video straight to the external SSD. So not too bad. It's also it has a few features that I find. It has boxy design, right? It's a little brick. Is not ergonomically shaped, but you can add grips and stuff if you want to. I think that comes with two different, or you can get two different external grips for it, hand grips. But then there's also on the left and the right side, in addition to the 1/4-inch tripod thread on the bottom, there's another one on the left and another one on the right side. So this makes it very flexible when it comes to mounting, I don't know, on a drone, or mounting it in a video rig, in a movie production rig. So yeah, not too bad looking. It has an L mount. L is the Leica mount, the new one, and they are part of the L mount alliance that is between Sigma, Leica, and Panasonic. And it seems that is moving in a good direction, because they have a decent amount of lenses already, and by the end of 2020, there's announcements from everyone pretty much, Leica, Panasonic, and Sigma. So by the end of 2020, I didn't count them, but it feels like there will be I don't know, at least 50 or 60 lenses available that are interchangeable between all these three brands. So that is kind of exciting. Other than that, it's kind of modular, right? There's accessories, like there's a hot shoe that you can actually, it doesn't come with a hot shoe. You can plug in and screw to the side an adapter that I think it plugs into the HDMI port, but it also acts as the flash trigger, so you have a proper hot shoe if you need one. But then, the size, of course, there's also some sacrifices, which we also have to talk about. And maybe those will curb my enthusiasm a bit when I finally get to try it out, if I get to try it out. And that is, it doesn't have a viewfinder, right? It's only screen, only the LCD on the back. But you can, I guess, hook up an external one. So lack of viewfinder. I'm a viewfinder guy. I want my viewfinder. Yeah. Also, we don't have any idea about the battery life of this camera. Hey, it could be awesome, but the size, I'm not sure. The size and this being a mirrorless camera that relies on the screen on the back being on. I'm not too sure about that. Did I talk about the buttons? Okay, so they managed to cram in like 9 buttons on the back of the camera around the display and a thumb wheel, which is good. So you will have access to the most important things, at least. But one thing that is a bit of a head scratcher for me, and of course that has been sacrificed for the size, is the mechanical shutter. The camera doesn't have one. There's only an electronic shutter in there. And for those of you who know electronic shutters, there's a likelihood, well, it's not even a likelihood, it will have some level of rolling shutter, which is, you've seen those videos that someone shot with a smartphone of a rotating propeller on an airplane, and you get all these bent out of shape blades. That's rolling shutter. So stuff that moves perpendicular, well, not even perpendicular, that moves any direction on the screen or on the sensor. The way this is being read line by line, there will be an effect. We have no idea how bad it's going to be. The CEO of Sigma when he made the announcement, he said something about, there will be rolling shutter, but he didn't get too specific about that. So that's the only thing that kind of makes me scratch my head. So yeah. Anyway, the camera is announced for fall, the Sigma FP of this year, fall of this year, 2019. There's no price yet. And it's not cheap. It's definitely, don't expect this to be a cheap camera. Miniaturization is expensive. They had to do a lot of engineering on this, I'm pretty sure. And my guess is, I have no idea. I would say the body, okay. I'll say something. You can get back to me and tell me that was wrong. But if it's out in fall, my guess it's going to be around $4,000. So yeah, there, I said it. Now back to the Sony, okay? They also announced their camera, the A7 Mark IV, for fall this year. Their price point is $3,500. And yeah, it's full of awesome features. There's some headline features here. They're like 61 megapixels. Yay! Better. Yay! As in, oh my God, I'll have to buy new computers, and my Lightroom is going to be even slower. And yeah, honestly, I couldn't care less about the amount of megapixels. Again, the FP is like 24 megapixels. I'd rather have 24 than 61, to be honest. Let's see what else. They have like better autofocus and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi and pixel shift. That's kind of interesting. If you really need the high megapixels, if that is something that is important because you want to print your pictures in I don't know, Bertinsky size, right? Wall size. Then there's a pixel shift function in there, which moves the sensor and takes several pictures for up to, I think, 240 megapixels. Yeah, 240 megapixels. But of course, it only works with non-moving subjects and stuff. And even landscapes move, a little wind moves the blades of grass and stuff. So yeah, limited use, studio for sure, architecture probably. And all in all, I mean, it's an interesting package, right? Especially if you're already in the Sony ecosystem. If you have lenses, if you have the accessories that go with it, if you have the the A7 Mark, I don't know, 2 or 3, yeah, maybe the jump is big enough for you, and maybe you have a need, and then sure, it's your camera. But anyway, when I saw this, also almost at the same time, I saw an article on Petapixel titled "The Lie of Medium Format Level Quality," and I want to talk about that right after this. This episode is supported by Nations Photo Lab. This spring, refresh your wall decor and get 15% off with Nations Photo Lab. Start with classic photo prints made by photographers for photographers, available in more than 60 sizes, so you can print as small as 3.5 by 5 or as large as 30 by 45. If you have photos that are more akin to museum quality artwork, print on canvas to create a scene of decor that belongs in the Louvre. To ensure your images look as vibrant as can be, try their best-selling metal prints. Or if you have more of a down-to-earth vibe, put your images on wood print wraps. Print it on real wood for a rustic, unique look. Don't limit your wall decor dreams. Create a gallery wall the way you imagine by mixing and matching different wall art mediums. Ordering online is easy, so you can turn your Instagrams into instant memories that will last for years to come. Make every moment matter. Try Nations Photo Lab today and head to nationsphotolab.com and use code TOP15 for 15% off your order. That's nationsphotolab.com, code TOP15, TOP15. And I thank them for the support. All right, back to the article on Petapixel, The Lie of Medium Level Quality. This is an article written by Blair Bunting, and I do not disagree with the title. Okay, medium format level quality is something that manufacturers love to toss around because, hey, who would not like to be associated with what's perceived to be so much better? And if you look at the Hasselblads and other medium format cameras on the market, yeah, they are kind of desirable, right? And they are perceived of being so much better, even though they are just in a few respects. But I mean, come on, a digital Hasselblad. I mean, Hasselblad cameras have been on the moon. Correction, they still are on the moon because they didn't bring them back to save on weight. So if you want a free Hasselblad, go to the moon. There are a bunch of them. They only brought the film back. So the article is titled "The Lie of Medium Format Level Image Quality." And again, so far I'm with Mr. Bunting because if you look at the Sony announcement, they used that sentence. They talked about the medium format level quality, and they're making use of that. And of course, that is pretty much down to the number of megapixels, right? And so that's what Mr. Bunting has as kind of the point in his article. He talks about the megapixel, and I believe that he misses the point a bit. No offense, but I have a different opinion here. Now he says that he has a disclaimer right at the beginning of the article that he's a Hasselblad ambassador. So I understand that he has a reason to attack Sony's claim of medium format quality because it's a direct attack on Hasselblad pretty much. And on some of the others. But the only thing he talks about in the article is the amount of megapixels. And yeah, I mean, the Sony camera, that the Mark IV now has like over 60 megapixels, which is impressive. But then there's a Phase 1 back out there that does 150. So And I know the Sony can use its pixel shift for non-moving subjects, which can increase the resolution up to 240 megapixels. Again, it's impressive. You would also do this with any camera pretty much by stitching. Again, non-moving subjects, just shoot 16 tiles 4x4 and you will easily have your 240 megapixels. And anyway, the argument that I'm missing is not the one about megapixels, which is an argument you can make, nothing against that, but it's the argument of sensor size. That is the number of centimeters or inches and the surface that the sensor covers. Because that, for me, is the major defining criterion. And I'm not sure why he's not talking about that. Maybe he hasn't... that's a bold claim, but maybe he hasn't shot real medium format. I mean, yeah, he's a Hasselblad ambassador. I do not doubt that he shoots Hasselblad cameras. But what sensor sizes are we actually talking about? And because I have to talk about medium format and where it comes from. And it comes from 120 film, which is 6 centimeters wide, 60 millimeters wide. And I know that at least a lot of not all of them, but most of the digital medium format cameras are not 6 centimeters wide. The sensor isn't that large. It's smaller. It's somewhere in between full frame and film medium format. So the moment you shot film medium format, or the moment I shot it, that's when my eyes were opened. That's when I went, oh wow, now I get it. So yeah, and of course, I mean, there's the basic optical things that happen. Written about this in the wide angle book, and that is that with a bigger sensor, it's so much easier to go more wide angle because the same focal length will have different angles of view depending on the size of the sensor. As an example, let's just take an 80 millimeter lens, 80 millimeters. Which, again, on a Micro Four Thirds, that's a decent telephoto, yeah? If you put that same 80 millimeter lens on a full frame camera, it's a light telephoto. Not as strong, but it'll make for a good portrait lens. Most famous portrait lenses are in that range. If you put that 80 millimeter lens on a medium format camera, it'll be a normal lens. It'll cover the same angle as a 50 millimeter does on a full frame camera. So that's the normal focal length. That's the default lens for a medium format camera, 80 millimeters. And then, of course, put that on a 4x5 large format camera. That's 4x5 inches, which is so much bigger than even full frame or medium format. And then that 80 millimeter lens is a pretty good wide angle. Very good wide angle. So yeah, the possibilities for wide angle are really intriguing when you cross over to the bigger sensor formats. So that is one thing that I was missing there. And that is, the medium format has it easier to go wide angle. So the Sony doesn't really compare in that respect. And I still wish I could find a Linhof Technorama that I could afford. That's a medium format panorama camera film. But it's, if you have one, let me know. One can dream. So the angle of view is one thing, but then there's another one, another parameter, and it has to do with transitions. And you can see that. Again, we're talking film medium format here, and if you grab the cheapest medium format camera you can find, which is probably something along the lines of a Holga, which is a cheap Chinese plastic camera. Do they make them again? They stopped making them for a while. I don't know. You could get them used. Again, it's a cheap plastic camera, plastic lens. It shoots medium format, 6x6 centimeters square format, like the Hasselblads do. And again, that's a huge surface compared to most digital formats. And then if you look at the resulting photos, there's a chance that you will notice something. And it is the transitions, the creamy, creamy is not really a technical term, but now it is, the creamy transition to the bokeh. And I'm not talking about lens design and how one lens has better bokeh than other, there are some that are better, some that are worse, or kind of depends on your definition of what is good or bad bokeh. I'm talking about how the in-focus part of the picture transitions into the out-of-focus part of the picture. And if you weren't aware of that until now, then there's a good chance you won't be able to not see it from now on. Here's an example. If you own a copy of the Film Photography Handbook, which, by the way, new second edition coming out later this year, so that's definitely in the books. The Film Photography Handbook, that's the book on film photography that Monica and I wrote about 4 years ago. You open it up, go to page 29, and have a look at the picture at the bottom of the page. It's a photo of a jacket on a park bench. Black and white film photo of a jacket on a park bench. I think it was taken with a Pentax 6.7, which is a 6 centimeters by 7 centimeters camera. So it's a bit bigger than the square format. And look at the transition from the in-focus to the out-of-focus areas of the picture. Go with your eyes and slide along that bench into the background. And that creamy transition, I've only seen this with formats larger than full frame. And it's something that's hard to fake. And the number of megapixels is one thing. And now we know the medium format cameras are still ahead of full frame cameras there. Again, phase 150 megapixels. But yeah, the really important thing for me is the size of the sensor and what that brings with it. And so, yeah, I think that article just doesn't really get to the point that I think is important. Anyway, enough about that. And that was it for this episode. Thanks again to Nations Photo Lab for sponsoring the episode. And of course, thanks to all of you wonderful, smart, and good-looking patrons who actively support this show. You deserve to be part of it. And so here is the list of Patreon supporters. Jeremy Kerwin, Jeffrey Blog, Alex Kroso, Bernhard Goldbach, Daniel Hertrich, Doug Gabbard, Ken Davidson, Marco Binder, Matt Armstead, Peter Morrow, Scott Wurzel, Tom Stewart, Eran Pinasov, Stu Silberman, Alan Bruce Horn, Andrew B., Anthony, Bartek Boski, Chadley Clark, Chandra, Christopher Greenhill, Dave Smith, David Recht, Eng Kyong, Francesco Scaglione, Greg Anastasi, Holger Krupp, James Trimble, Jim Caldwell, John Donahue, Josh Hopko, Just Me AMR, Ken Berrien, Karl Nishioka, Marvin Aaron, Michael Grunert, Peter M. Spradling, Rob Duber, Robert Goschko, Ryan Gilio, Zina Farhad, Steven Sandler, Thomas Nielsen, Trevor Palmer, and Woody. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And everyone else, if you want to hear your name on this show, consider joining this illustrious group of awesome people. Go to tfttf.com/Patreon. Thank you so much. Music for the show by Jeff Smith, sound partner Hans-Peter Kagerud, publishing and Slack challenges by Release Pixie, Matt Rafster Armstead, Slack invitations by Chief Invitation Officer, CIO Rusty Russ. The link to get on the Slack is in the show notes or at tfttf.com/yslack. And by the way, there's 1 week left for you to finish the current challenge, so check it out on the Slack. My name is Chris Marquardt. You'll find me on social media at Chris MARQUARDT. Now go out and take amazing photos, share them with the world, be nice to each other, and happy shooting.